I remember watching Sister Angelica, and I remember my mom always had either EWTN on or Fox News. And, she sort of like stayed in her bedroom a lot when she was older and she got sick. She had ovarian cancer. She went through numerous surgeries and she went through many rounds of chemo. And then when she tried to take the oral chemo, things just really backfired with her. But one of the things that she got involved with, because she was very spiritual and she was involved in the church, and she was a third order of St Francis, which is the secular Franciscans. And so I wanted to read this because this came out of a book that she gave my son, which is the World Recipes book. Those recipes, they were all wrong. These poor people were suffering from a lot of malnutrition and a lot of issues with the gut that dealt with the brain, and you get the leaky gut and the leaky brain, and then you get imbalances all through. I look back and I think about all the things that both of my parents went through with their cancers. And then my aunt, who was a sister of mercy, and her sister, who also dealt with a lot of mental health issues. Now, my sister also did too, and I did with depression and anxiety and postpartum depression. I was doing a lot of things with hyperthyroidism and hypothyroidism and those extremes that go back and forth with that, and the IBS and all the intestinal problems and the pancreatitis. So those things were all related to a lot of other issues. And sometimes we don't even realize what our habits are that are preventing us from being well. So really, I just wanted to take a few minutes to read this because it shows this sister, Jacoba de Setasoli, I think was her name. And she was helping St. Francis. And it says that she was born in Rome and married into the noble Frangipani family. She was a young widow when she heard of the holy man, Francis of Assisi. Desiring to meet the penitent in order to seek his spiritual advice, she got her wish when Francis and his small band came to Rome to obtain papal approval of the Franciscan rule of life, which actually I love the Franciscan rule of life because really they're all about connecting to nature and being a part of it. And, with holistic nursing, that is a part of what we, the embracing of being holistic about many things, not, the eating part. I'm all about the eating part. But there are many other things, mindfulness with life and mindfulness with being around other people. So, having heard the Francis preach, she sought his guidance on how to be charitable. Francis advised her not to abandon her family, so she joined the Third Order of St. Francis, turning administration of the affairs over to her two sons. She spent the rest of her life in the practice of good works. She spent the rest, when he traveled to Rome, Francis would stay as her guest. She gave some of her family's property in Trastevere, and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but that's Trastevere, Rome, to Francis and the brothers to use as a hospice for lepers, and she provided for their needs. Francis and Lady Jacoba became friends. At his request, she was present with him at his death. As Francis lay dying, he wanted to taste once more his favorite, now here it is, his favorite almond treat, and asked Brother Jacoba to bring him some. Sometimes we don't realize, what these people were eating. And a lot of it, even though it was sustenance and it was good, the essentials weren't there. They were eating sweets and they were like, I don't know what exactly, but here it is. It was an almond pastry is what he was looking for. So, and asked Brother Jacoba to bring him some. So now wait a minute, Jacoba de Soli, I thought this was a woman, but maybe it's another man. Hold on 1 minute. No, it is. She was a young. Okay. So even before word had reached her, she had already prepared the almond pastries for St. Francis. The arrival of Lady Jacoba, who had come with her 2 sons and a great retinue to bid Francis farewell, caused some consternation since women were forbidden to enter the friary. But Francis, in gratitude to this Roman noblewoman, made an exception, and Brother Jacoba, as Francis had named her, on account for her fortitude, remained to the last. Francis died on the evening of October 3rd, 1226. Now, like I said, my mother, she wore a cross. She went to the secular St. Franciscan, all of the meetings with other women. And I believe that there is some goodness to this, but I can tell you, my mom was just inundated with worry and with pain. And moms always are going to worry about their kids and what's going on in the world. So my mom knew about what was going on with politics. She'd stay up all night and listen to that Fox News. And, so these are all things that we sometimes get caught up with. And at the same time, we want to be a part of what's going on in the world. But then we have to know what our balance is, know where we need to be. So I look back at some of it's very comical because my aunt, like I said, she was a Sister of Mercy. She was driving back and forth from Pittsburgh to come to our house. She'd bring tons of candy for my sister. And then she would she only had a little room that was like a dorm. And then she had her car, which she drove all over the place that was packed filled. It was so filled with junk, she could hardly fit in it. So then you start wondering, is this a mindful way of living? Is it really, something that works for people? So she gave so much of herself to everybody because she was a social worker through the sisters. And her name originally given to her was Scholastica. So she did teach for a short period of time before she went into social work. So for today, I just wanted to mention this book. I'm going through it because there's so many bad recipes in here. I mean, they're good. We used to eat this type of stuff, but this stuff is actually crippling food and a lot of the recipes. And so I'm going to try to help redo this book and all the recipes in the book to help people because nobody wants to be crippled. And to tell you the truth, leprosy, we don't know if it really ever went away. We don't see the exact same way it looked because people are eating differently now. We have better access to food. Now, that might be in other countries that there's leprosy and malaria and TB and all these things, So that might be here too, but we're eating differently. We live differently. We don't have those extreme scenarios. So Diane Greco-Allen, your food relationship coach, just checking in on St. Francis and the secular Franciscans' way of life and being connected to nature. Thank you and have a great day.